welcome to the live. Today is going to be slightly different because we literally are going live to have some flow time rather than any form of a showtime. So for those of you who are joining us live, a great big welcome to all of you guys who are jumping into today's live. First and foremost, let's do this. If you are jumping into the live and it's your first time, feel free to write in the chat the words first time, FT for first time. If you are back again, if you're someone who's been in a live with Samuel I Can Win before and you're back ready for more, then feel free to write inside of the chat, I've been before, because in this live, we're going to be talking about something super interesting. We're going to be talking about why the hustle culture doesn't help you. And specifically, I'm going to be talking about how hustle and grind has a complete antithesis, a complete enemy, which some of us choose to jump into, and many of us haven't even heard of. And I'm so glad I was able to hear of the enemy of hustle and grind so many years ago. And we're going to be talking about that in today's session. So if you are ready, if you are absolutely ready for that, feel free to write in the chat the word ready. If you're ready for that, feel free to write in the chat the word ready. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump right in. We're going to jump right into today's session in order to give you even more value, to move further faster with you and assist you to literally take hold, let me use this word, take hold of your future. So without further ado, let's jump right in. We've got the comments coming in straight away. Zach in the house says, hi uncle, what a lovely surprise to see you live. Again, I wanted to ask how to stick to your goals. That's a great question. We will be answering questions later on. Zach, thank you ever so much for that question. We definitely will be answering questions later on. So for all of you guys, as you jump in, if you have questions as well, feel free to throw them inside of the chat. You can throw them in the chat now and we could take them later. But regardless, make sure as you throw your questions in that you put a little Q next to your question so we can make sure that we see your questions and we can address your questions and we can come back to your questions later on in the session. Now, with that being said, as we usually start, let's start the way we usually start in the great, awesome, amazing fashion. Let me start by asking you guys, where are you joining us from? Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? Are you in Australasia? Or are you in Asia? Or are you in Mother Africa? Let me know inside of the chat where you are joining us from. I see those likes already blowing up inside of the live. For those of you who are liking the live, thank you ever so much. And guys, look, I don't like having to say this at the start. We got UK in the house. It's already coming through. And guys, wherever you're tuning in from, let us know inside of the chat. Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? Are you in Australasia? Are you in Asia? Are you in Mother Africa? And if you're in the UK, let me know exactly where you're in the UK. What city are you joining us from? So I know I can greet you all night long. All right. So guys, first and foremost, inside of this live, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about hustle culture, something that I am all too familiar with. I'm going to be sharing with you something one of my coaches who I invested some serious corn, some serious bread, some serious money. Someone write in the chat the word money, right? You guys, and guys, let me say this. If for those of you who are jumping in right now, if you haven't already, let us know inside of the chat where you're joining us from. Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? Are you in Australasia? Are you in Asia? Are you in Mother Africa? Let me know, let me know, let me know. Let me know if this live is just going to be a UK only live, or if we're going to have some of my friends from the US of A inside of the session today. Let me know, let me know, let me know in the chat. We got Zach who's coming in from the UK. Wherever you guys are tuning in from, let me know inside of the chat. Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? Are you in Australasia? Or are you in Asia? Or are you even in Mother Africa? Now, one of the things that's super interesting is a coach of mine who I invested handsomely to work with shared with me something very profound a number of years ago. And it was the words that were shared with me that literally shifted the way I thought about how things needed to be done, okay? If anyone's ever had some words come from a friend, a coach, a mentor, a leader, an inspirer, let me use that word, an inspirer, a key dropper, okay? Because, you know, I know all too well about key droppers, right? And sometimes if you're someone who just reads, you end up finding ultimately masses of amounts of keys. Someone write in the chat the word keys, so I know that you guys are with me. So basically, a number of years ago, a coach that I was working with shared a phenomenal sentence with me, and it literally changed my life. And it helped me see how I didn't have to be the exact way that previously I thought I had to be. Okay, and the reason I'm just looking down right now, guys, is because I'm attempting. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. I hope I am. I'm attempting to find a specific effect. Okay, I'm being told that they're attempting to disconnect us in some of the platforms. All right, which ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. We're gonna stay here. We're gonna add value and be rapping. Let's go. All right. And guys, for those of you who don't know, sometimes I have a problem. I like rhyming. Okay, it is what it is. All right. So guys, for those of you who are jumping in, let us know where you're in from. Let us know where you're tuning in from. So if you're in the UK, US of A, Australasia, or in Asia, or in Mother Africa, let us know inside of the chat. If you guys are joining on any specific platform, feel free to say hi, say hello. I see Zar in the house. I see Ruth in the house. Guys, feel free to say hello, right? They're like, I'm super old school, right? I'm the kind of person when I meet you, I say good afternoon, good evening, good morning. You know, my dad taught me well. Let me just say it like that. So guys, feel free to do the same. If you jump in, I know it's a different time of night right now, and you might be thinking, hold on a minute, I don't want anyone knowing I'm up right now, but you're up right now, and we know you're up right now, and maybe you're up right now because you're looking for a solution. So you might feel like you're out there in the back. But I'm going to tell you something as a matter of fact. Even if you feel like you're out there in the back, you might not actually really be in the back, okay? You might literally be so much closer to the plan, to the game, to the change than you expected. So because of that, what we're gonna do in this session is we're gonna have an open, transparent environment, all right? If that's okay with you, just say in the chat, it is. If that's okay with you, just say in the chat, it is. If that's okay with you, just say in the chat, it is. And then I know I'm with the people who I'm supposed to be with for this session, okay? Because there's a reason that I give up some of my sleep in order to help you guys go deep, okay? There's a reason I do that, okay? And it's to add value to my community. So with that being said, if you're joining us, wherever you're joining us from, feel free to let us know in the chat that you are joining us. Feel free to let us know in the chat that you are joining us. And I look forward to being able to welcoming you onto this live. And first and foremost, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I am super old school, guys. What that means, okay, when I say I'm super old school, what that means is I can't do like social media names. I have to do normal names. Like my name is Samuel, right? So whatever your name is, feel free to hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever your thing is, so I can greet you as well. All right, now, with that being said, I shared a moment ago that a coach of mine who I invested handsomely to be in his arena, to be in his world, basically shared a sentence with me that shifted my life. This was a number of years ago. This was about 4 years ago now, 2022. And I invested handsomely to hear this. I'm even literally gonna throw some confetti on the screen because it was like a celebration being able to be in that room and hear the value bombs, hear the insights, hear the hindsight that literally dropped in order to allow me to move further faster in my journey. All right, so there's raining confetti right now just for how powerful it was. I was actually looking for a different kind of rain. I've got a different kind of rain on here, but I just can't seem to find it. So I gotta skip that right now. All right. So basically, I was working with this coach, and this coach says to me something quite profound, and it was what this coach said to me that hooked me up to put me in what I would say was the best position of my life. Now, if you are someone who's ever heard something from a coach that literally assisted you by putting you in one of the best positions, let's see if this is it. If this is it, yeah, there you go. There it is. That's the money rain. The money rain. That's what I wanted to find, the money rain. If you have ever been with a coach, with an inspirer, someone who's put you in a position where you've said to yourself, you know what, things are going to change just because that sentence that was exchanged. I just want you to put in the chat the word me, okay? If you've ever been in that situation where a sentence that came from an inspirer, a sentence that came from a book, a sentence that you were privy to be able to have a look, came to you and it changed everything for you. It made you feel like, you know what, my whole life is going to change. If that's you, just write in the chat the word me. Because the reason I'm asking this is because I'm about to share with you something that changed my life, a simple sentence that changed my life. And these things help us understand things on a whole new level. First and foremost, Lelo, c'est la vie. I speak in French right now. Decided to follow the host. Thank you, Lelo, for taking that step and doing so. All right, now, I usually forget to say this, so Lelo is literally reminding me, guys, if at any point throughout this live you get value, feel free to hit the follow. If at any time throughout this live you hear something that really stands out to you, feel free to hit the like. You can literally hit that like until the screen tells you you are liking it too much. Side by side with that, if at any point throughout this session you hear something and you're like, you know what, there's more people out there that need to hear what I'm hearing in here, then feel free to hit that feature or button that says share, okay? And last but not least, right, if you haven't already decided to decide, feel free to hit subscribe so you can become a part of the tribe, all right? So that's all of the stuff that I usually forget to say, but you guys remind me so eloquently when you hit follow. You guys remind me so eloquently when you throw your comments in. So guys, hopefully I won't forget today, okay? So as you jump into this live, if it's your first time meeting me, just write first time in the chat. If you're back again, if you're someone who's back again, feel free to write the words back again. We're gonna be talking specifically today about hustle culture. We're gonna be talking about hustle culture and how hustle culture has a tendency to make you and I believe that it's the best thing that you can receive, but it's actually something that comes along with one intention, and that's to deceive. All right. So if someone's with me, if someone's getting what I'm talking about, just write I am in the chat so I know you guys are getting it today. Now let's jump right in. A coach of mine back in 2022 says to me a line that changed my mind. The line was, I would rather be a prepared messenger than have to focus on having a prepared message. Okay? I'd rather be a prepared messenger than focus on having a prepared message. When I heard this line, it changed my mind. It was this line that literally allowed me to be someone who stepped out of what you may call hustle culture, who stepped out of hustle and grind and decided to jump into flow and fountains. Someone write in the chat the word flow. Now, the challenge we have a lot of the time is many of us, we're using words, but people don't necessarily know the words we're using. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna define some of the words I'm using in order to assist all of us to be on the same page. If that's helpful, someone just write in the chat the word page so I know that you have a desire, like I have a desire, for us to be on the same page, because this is the way that we're going to be able to add the most value to one another. This is the way we're going to be able to understand one another. This is how we're going to be able to speak the same language, and as a result be able to move further faster in our futures. All right, cool. This is good. This is good. All right, you guys are getting it. All right, so let's go forth. The first thing we're going to talk about is hustle. Okay, now hustle typically is a process of attempting to go against the grain. Okay, and specifically you're doing that from a position where you're not necessarily in a position of advantage, okay? So you're going against the grain, and here's the key attribute of hustle, which is why it's so challenging for so many people. You're doing this when you don't necessarily have an advantage, okay? So I want us to look at some of these characteristics and this criterion, all right, as we talk about hustle, because I want you guys to truly get this. And for those of you who are jumping in, if it's your first time meeting me, welcome. I'm Samuel I Can Win. I help people create consistent and colossal cash flow using resources and revenues hidden in plain sight. In fact, there's coaches out there that are going to tell people, hey, we're going to help you become financially free in 5 to 10 years. Me and my friends, we do that in 3 to 12 months, and we have a whole bunch of receipts. So if that's something of interest to you, you know what to do. Hit the follow, hit the subscribe, become a part of the tribe, and do all of the other stuff you can do online so you can move further faster in your future. And just in light of that, EWASCOMS Cosmetics, myshopify.com, like the live. Thank you ever so much for liking the live. We appreciate you. And guys, as you jump in, if you hear things of value, feel free to share with other people out there just to show them that you care so they can get a piece of what's going on in here. All right, so let's jump through this. So here's one of the challenges people often have with this conceptual idea, which we call hustle culture, right? The big challenge a lot of the time with this conceptual idea of the thing we call hustle culture is the characteristics that come along with hustle culture, okay? So you might be saying, Samuel, what are some of these characteristics? I see that wave. Let's go, let's go. EWAS Cosmetics, let me know your name, please. I'm super old school. I do apologize. I like addressing people by their actual name. So feel free to let me know your actual name. All right. So here's what happens, right? In this world we live in, there is this hustle culture. Now, the hustle culture has certain characteristics, and unfortunately, what happens is these characteristics deceive us into thinking that this is the way it should be. This is the only way it can work for me. This is the way it's going to be. Okay. So what are those characteristics? Well, one of those characteristics of hustle culture is to be able to go against the grain. Okay. Now, why is this one so deceptive? I'm going to tell you, right? Because this is the first one that's super powerful. Ewa, let me know if I'm saying this correctly. Is it Ewa? Is it Ewa? All right, my African people, I know sometimes we have a little bit of a kick with our names. Is it Ewa? Let me know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Is it Iwa? I don't know. Let me know, right? Because when I used to go to school, right, my surname is Ihinwe, but they would say Ikimwin. Okay, so I just want to make sure I get it right. All right, I love that. I love that. I love that. Ewa says, yes, it's a Yoruba name. I love that. Thank you. Absolutely amazing. We get, you got it right first, okay? It's not Iwa, it's Ewa, okay? Yes, go, let's go, let's go. My people, I love this. And Gifties Empire, thank you for following the host. We appreciate you. And for those of you guys who are not following already, you know what to do. You know what to do. Put on the right shoe, hit follow. You know what to do. All right, let's go. Be Unfiltered decided to follow the host. Now we're moving. And guys, like I said, if you hear something throughout today's live that you actually truly like, you know what to do. Hit the button that says like. Let's get to 10,000 likes in this live. Anyway, hustle. Now, the first challenge we have with hustle culture is hustle culture goes against the grain. So because it goes against the grain, guess what we believe? We believe we need to go against the grain in order to get results that currently do not look plain. Okay, I'm going to break this down again in case you need to pick up your pen. We often believe with hustle culture that we are indebted to hustle culture. We need hustle culture. Why? Because hustle culture goes against the grain. So we think if I go against the grain, I'll be able to produce results in my life which are not plain. Okay, now here's something. Here's a little help, right, for all of us. I used to think this. So I want you to understand something about this live. This live's a little bit different. In this live, I will not be pointing the finger. In this live, I'm going to tell you something. Even for those of you who are all the way in the back, in this live, I'm not going to be pointing the finger. In this live, I'm going to be pointing the finger. In this live, I'm going to be talking to myself about myself because I've gone through these processes. I've gone through these experiences myself as well. So if you're someone in this live and you're saying, you know what, Samuel, I've been through it. I've been through hustle culture. I'm tired. I'm tired of being sick and tired. Just throw in the chat the words me. Just throw in the chat the words me so I know I'm not alone. Because I remember before I was hustling and I was grinding. And let me tell you what happens when you hustle and grind. Oh, someone's not ready for this. I'm going to go right there. When you hustle and grind, you get hustled and you get ground. And someone's going to be saying, Samuel, how can that be the case? I'm going to tell you how it's the case, okay? Because a seed, someone's going to catch this. Because a seed, any seed, right? You guys throw in the chat what seed this might be, okay? Throw in the chat what kind of seed could this be, okay? Let me know in the chat. What kind of seed could this be, all right? This seed's been planted underground. This seed later on, by the grace of God, will produce a tree. Okay? But I want you to throw in the chat, what kind of a seed could this be? All right? I see this. Be Unfiltered says, the effort it requires can be so draining. It not only can be so draining, it is so draining. The only question is how long it takes for the drain to show up. So Be Unfiltered, thank you for sharing that. That's super powerful and super resonant with what we're talking about today. And Be Unfiltered, please, right? I'm super old school. If you can, just let me know your name so I know who I'm talking to and I can welcome you properly to the live, right? Because I want you guys to understand how this works. In life, what happens is we do things because people told us to. We do things because we thought they were good ideas. We do things because someone said, you should do this. But we don't realize that 9 times out of 10, most cases, I would say 10 times out of 10, but there's a few exceptions which we may even be able to break into talking about in today's live. But 10 times out of 10, what happens is you do these things, and in simple language, they come back to haunt you. And you might be thinking, why is this coming back to haunt me? I'm going to tell you why, okay? It's because of this illustration that I've shown right here. Because a seed, it doesn't matter whether it's an apple seed. Because a seed, it doesn't matter if it's a pear seed. Because a seed, it does not matter what seed this is. Let me tell you what seed this is, which we're actually talking about. This is a hustle seed. Oh, someone just called it right there. Let me ask the question. If I plant a hustle seed, is the hustle seed going to give me what I need? Someone tell me in the chat, right? If I plant a hustle seed, let's take a quick vote right now. Yes in the chat if it's correct, no in the chat if it's incorrect. Listen to this. If I plant a hustle seed, is a hustle seed going to give me what I need? Someone tell me in the chat, yes or no. Because here's the thing that we don't realize. We often forget that the good Lord told us, that the Bible showed us, that the world in front of us, literally in 3D, 4D, represents to us, a seed can only produce after its own kind. I'm going to say it again. I saw those likes. I'm going to say it again in case someone needed to pick up their pen. A seed can only produce after its own kind. Is someone with me today? And if that be the case, that a seed can only produce after its own kind, what does that mean? I'm so glad you asked. That means if you plant an apple seed, you can only get apples, ladies and gentlemen, on your trees. Which equally, unequivocally means if you plant a pear seed, you can only get pears on your trees, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, let's go there. Should we go there? I don't know if we should go there. Should we go there? Let's go there. Because tonight, we're not talking about apples. This morning, we're not talking about pears. What are we talking about? We're talking about hustle culture. So what does that mean, Samuel? I'll tell you. I'm so glad you asked. It means if you plant a hustle seed, you can only ever create a hustle tree. You see, I remember in 2015, when I was working, let me tell you what I was working, right? Because some of you know what I'm talking about. Most of you won't, okay? Let me tell you what I was doing. I was working as a full-time secondary and A-level teacher, okay? Now, I was also rocking with some responsibility. So I was also a teacher trainer, okay? So I'm a teacher trainer. I'm a full-time secondary and A-level math teacher. I'm working in schools, okay? And let me tell you what I was doing. I was working overtime. I was working undertime. I was literally working all the time. And it was being in this predicament, being in this situation, that I realized to myself, enough is enough. Let's go. Let's go. Be unfiltered. You haven't told me your name. What's your name, ma'am? Let's go. Right? Be Unfiltered said a very powerful statement. It affects millennials a lot. Let me say this, please, right? Let me share this with everybody, right? And I didn't plan to go here because I don't like getting super sentimental. I don't know if this is sentimental, but this is just keeping it real. And guys, I'm here for us to go deep. All right? It's actually B. Awesome. Is B short for something? I usually ask that question. It helps me remember people's names as well. So B, let me know if B is short for something, right? I didn't want to go here, but B's taking us here, so we're going to go here, right? Please, I hope you guys fasten your seatbelt on this live because we're going to go there, right? B said it actually affects, oh, let's go. Bola, let's go. Bola in the house. Bola, welcome. All right, welcome to the live. Great to have you on. Bola, let me know, is this your first time on a live with Samuel I Can Win? If it is, just write FT for first time, not full time. You don't have to work full time, but FT for first time, so I know it's your first time. If it's not, just put BA, which stands for back again, not British Airways. We ain't promoting British Airways up in the house, but BA means back again. FT means first time. All right, now let's jump into this, right? Bola said something super powerful. Bola says it affects millennials a lot. And I'm going to be very transparent. Psychologically, it does affect millennials a lot. But here's something most people don't realize. Okay, I see you. Bola says first time. The thing most people don't realize is it doesn't just affect millennials a lot. It affects all of us. It affects the baby boomers. It affects Gen M, Gen X, Gen A, Gen B, Gen Z, whatever you want to call it. It affects everyone. Now, here's the question. Here's a real question. How? Okay? Here's a real question. How? Samuel, that's a big, bold assertion. You're saying this stuff affects everyone. How does it affect everyone? Let me tell you something. The millennials, if that's what you want to call them, right? The millennials, let's take this millennial. Okay? Let's call this millennial Ronald, right? Ronald's a millennial. But here's the funniest thing. In 20 years, in 30 years from now, Ron is going to be expected to take care of his dad, Don. Now, the thing with Don is not a millennial. Let's say Don is a Gen X. Let's say next is coming Sandy. Sandy, on the other hand, she's not a millennial. Okay, we went the wrong way there. We was drawing the males here. Let's go. Sandy, on the other hand, she's not a millennial. Okay, let's say she's Gen Z. So everybody says, oh, Gen Z is going to be okay. It's the millennials that are going to have to pay. Well, that's not the case, because in 40 years, 50 years, 60 years from now, what's going to happen? Ron is going to be retiring, and he's going to be needing help or assistance from Sandy, his daughter. And this is what many of us have been conned out of seeing. Many of us have been conned out of seeing that what affects one of us affects all of us. Why? I'm going to tell you why. Oh, someone's called it already. I feel like I'm moving too slow in today's live. I don't know. Guys, let me know in the chat. Am I moving slower than usual in today's live? Am I moving too slow to add the value in this live? Let me know. Let me tell you what it is. For those of you who are moving slow with me, all right? Okay? Bolla's got it. It's passed on. She's got it, right? This is the reason why this happens. This is the reason why it affects us all, because of what I shared with you a moment ago. Because a seed can only produce after its own kind. Hashtag Genesis chapter 1. If you read Genesis chapter 1, it tells us something so profound, so powerful, and so pertinent for right now. It tells us, I'm going to give you seed that will bear after its own kind. What does that mean? That means if you start planting hustle everywhere, you can only receive hustle later from somewhere. If you start planting grind somewhere, you are basically setting yourself up to have to be able to grind elsewhere. Oh, if someone's getting this, just write in the comments, I am. And for the people in the back, you as well, let me know if you are getting this. Let me know if you're seeing how this develops and how it literally ends up enveloping people's lives, regardless of who you are, regardless of whether you are the millennial, regardless of whether you are the Gen X, the Gen Z, the Gen A, the Gen B. It doesn't make a difference. Why? Because there are systems and cycles created to trap you. There are systems and cycles created to hinder you. And there are also, here's a little secret, here's the secret, I hope you're listening, lean in for this secret. There's also systems and cycles created to liberate you. The only problem is, for most people, they've never taken a moment to research, to discover, to uncover what those systems and cycles are, which release you, which allow you to become who you're supposed to be, which ultimately set you and set me free. Now, if anyone's interested in hearing more about some of these systems and cycles, you can just write in the chat SNS, systems and cycles, SNS, systems and cycles, SNS. Now, this was not part of the plan for the live today, but we could talk about it. We could talk about it because some of us need some systems and cycles to break the systems and cycles that are attempting to keep us in cycles. Now, you might be saying, Samuel, what cycle are they trying to keep me in? Well, the first cycle is the cycle I talk about in many of my lives, which is the cycle of similarity, okay? The cycle of similarity. You know, I don't know if you've experienced this before. I used to experience this in 2015, right? Where every single day just feels the same like way. You're waking up at the same time, going to the same place, going to the same office, looking at the same wall, the same spot on the same wall, and saying to yourself every single day internally, what am I doing here? Let me tell you what that led me to do. That led me at one stage years ago to do the maths. Samuel, what do you mean do the maths? I'm so glad you asked. Let's break it down. For me, doing the maths was realizing three things. I'm going to share these three things with you super simply for you guys to catch this. The first thing, when I did the maths, I realized was this. I realized when I ended up doing the maths, I realized when I was able to do the maths, the first thing that was super pertinent for me, I realized that God had a plan for my life, okay? That's the first thing, right? And I'm not talking about some gimmick song that you're gonna hear like on the top 20 list of some artist. Yeah, God's got a plan. No, listen. When you realize internally that God's got a plan for you, okay? Let me even put it this way, God plans for me. When you realize that, let me tell you what's gonna happen for you. For most of us who take that seriously, our life's gonna change. Why? Because when you realize someone bigger than you, who doesn't need you, who doesn't even need to think about you, who has no obligation to think about you, decides to have a plan for you, guess what's gonna happen? Your life's gonna change instantly. Why? Because you're gonna realize if there's someone bigger than me, who doesn't need me, who actually goes out of their way to have a plan for me, then maybe there's something more I could be, okay? So God's plan, that's the first thing. That's when I say you do the maths, that's the first thing that I realized. I realized, hold on a minute, there's a bigger plan for me, right? And I started to understand what that plan was, okay? For those of you who are interested, you can write the word plan and I can start to break that down. Now, here's the second thing that happened to me. I realized when I came to my senses, okay, and recognized that God had a plan for me, I realized something else which was super pertinent. I realized that even if, this is the real maths that most people do, the logical maths, even if I get to the top of the ladder, okay? Top of the ladder, in the world I was in, it would not be enough to facilitate. The real word is literally to fund God's plan. This is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. I don't know if it's happening to you. I don't know, okay? This isn't for everybody. This is just for the people who it's for, right? And if you're one of those people it's for, you can acknowledge by saying, yep, or me, or he's talking to me. You're talking to my soul right now. You've been reading my journal, Samuel? I don't know. I'm just telling you what it is, right? In 2015, I recognized way before 2015, God had a plan for me. But in 2015, I recognized that God had a plan for me. And the plan was becoming so clear to me that I realized that even if I get to the top of what I was doing, at the time I was a secondary and A-level math teacher, I just finished my master's in teaching, or I think I was on the way to finishing my master's in teaching. I completed the master's in teaching in 2016 because I did that program part-time. I was teacher training, I was teaching teachers how to teach. And I just realized, I said, listen, I'm working in education, I'm working in schools, I'm currently being paid £47,000 a year. And I realized at that juncture, if I got to the top of the ladder, right? Now, the top of the ladder in the education system at the time, it could be different now, I don't know, you let me know if you're a teacher. The top of the ladder was to become an executive head teacher. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, if I become an executive head teacher, I'm gonna be over maybe like 5 schools and they're gonna pay me maybe at maximum £200,000. That was kind of like the going rate at the time. So this was like, what, 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, I'm saying to myself, if I get to the top of the food chain in the ladder that I'm climbing, I'm gonna potentially be generating £200,000 a year. But then I realized something, like this realization was probably what really helped me, right? I realized that if I get paid £200,000 a year, okay, first thing you guys need to do is imagine what the tax is like. So whatever that is, let's even be nice. Let's say the tax is only, okay, let's say the tax is only, and guys, I am making this up to the degree that you can see, right? So let's say, for example, the tax is only 50,000. Let's say I'm still going to walk away with £150,000, okay? Let's just say. That's not what created a problem for me. The money was not the problem, okay? The money was relevant, the money was important, but the money was not the problem. Someone write in the chat, the money's not the problem, okay? Because for some of us, we think the money's the problem. That's why we stay stuck in our current positions, because we think the money's the problem. That's why we just try to go for a new job and get a new position, because we think the money's the problem. But after a while, guess what you're going to realize? The money is not the problem. Here's a question. Samuel, how did you realize that the money was not a problem? You was only on 47,000 a year. I'm going to tell you, that's a great question. That's a great question. D-Max, thank you for following the host. That's a great question. Let me tell you. The way I realized that the money was not the problem was because of the fact that I was being paid £47,000 as a teacher who had only at the time been working in schools for around 4.5, 5 years. So that was what, like, most people used to look at me and be like, yo, this guy's Mr. Fast Track. How did he get to 47,000 a year and he's only been in here 3 or 4 years, right? So I was like Mr. Fast Track. Now I understood what I had to do to fast track because, you know, my parents leveled me up, right? My parents told me when I was young that you can leverage education. So I leveraged my education in order to have transformation. And what that did is that put me in different places in my occupation, okay? Some of you's gonna catch this. So that's what I did, okay? And I'm not telling you to do that, I'm just telling you that's what I did, right? That was one of the reasons I studied my master's in teaching, okay? Which I've been showing more and more on these lives, maybe because of the new studio, it's just easier for me to grab. So this is my dissertation for my master in teaching, right? Some of you guys can see this, so you can know there's no cap, as the Americans say, right? There's no cap. And for those of you who are my people in the UK, no cap just means I'm not lying, okay? All right, it just means I'm not lying. We're not capping out here, right? I got a lot of coaches who are American in it, so I end up learning a lot of the vernacular. And this doesn't want to focus. There you go, Master of Teaching, MTeach 2016, right? Studied at UCL, Institute of Education. All right, now, in 2015, 2016, I'm working full-time, overtime, undertime, all the time. And I'm saying to myself, like, how's my situation going to change? How am I going to change my life? And I realized one day, like, nothing's going to change because nothing changes until you change, right? So when I realized that nothing's going to change, I said to myself, why isn't the money enough? I realized the money wasn't enough because I was being paid way more than most teachers who had been working as long as I'd been working. So I realized the money's not the problem. Okay. Now, when I realized the money's not the problem, here's the question. The question you should hopefully be asking, the question I was asking is, what is the problem? Samuel, what is the problem? Because you might be like me. You might be working a job right now and saying to yourself, or how I was anyway, you might be working a job right now and saying to yourself, I don't feel like the money's the problem either. I feel like there's a bigger problem. Let me tell you what the problem is. Anyone want to know the problem? If you want to know the problem, just write in the chat, problem. Okay. Let me tell you the problem. The problem is this. Even if you get to the top of the food chain, even if you get the 150,000 a year, 200,000 a year, let's say in the best case scenario, you got a great accountant and you're paying 50,000 in tax, so you're walking away for 150,000. Let me tell you the problem. The problem is this. What time do you start work? You start work at 6 a.m. Now you're saying to me, oh, Samuel, what do you mean I start work at 6 a.m.? You start work at 6 a.m. because you got to get to that school by 7 a.m. And I'm being nice. I know, I can see the likes blowing up, so I know you guys know I'm being nice. Let's keep it real. The reality is if you start work at 7 a.m., you know you really start work at like 5 a.m. Okay? But let me tell you why you start work at 6 a.m. Because you're going to have the odd day where you're like, you know what, I just don't even want to go in tomorrow. I don't even want to go in tomorrow. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a lie in. And I'm gonna hit snooze and snooze and snooze. Oh, guys, I don't know. Can I be this wrong? Is there anyone who's just hit snooze sometimes? Hit snooze, hit snooze, hit snooze, hit snooze. Any hit snooze guys up in here? All right, let me know. Let me know. If that's you, just write me in the chat side. Guys, I said it already, guys. In this live, I'm not pointing the finger. In this live, I'm pointing the finger. I'm talking about me, guys. This was me. 2015, I'm generating £47,000 as a teacher in a UK school. That is more revenue than most people who were my peers at the time. But I was still hitting snooze. You know why? Because I realized I didn't want to be there. I loved working with the children. I loved seeing children progress. I love seeing growth and development. I love seeing advancement. I love seeing learning taking place. Let me tell you what I didn't like. I didn't like the politics of adults acting like children and then complaining that children were acting like children. Oh, and that used to drive me wild. I'm a teacher trainer, right? I'm trying to teach teachers how to teach, right? And all these teachers, grown folk are complaining about 13-year-olds. They're 13, if you know what I mean. They're supposed to do stuff like that. They're 13, if you know what I mean. They're supposed to be acting like that. But you, oh Lord, sorry, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Let's go. All right. D-Max says LP. D-Max, let me know your name so I can address you properly. And D-Max says, how's the family? LP and how's the family? D-Max, what's LP stand for? Have I asked you guys to write something and I've not even kept track? And how's the family? My family is blessed. They're blessed and highly favored. Thank you ever so much. I believe they're all sleeping right now, which is why I get to have so much fun in their lives. Let's go. All right, let's go. Breath, let's go. So this is what I realized. Right, as I was trying to be nice to you guys, I realized the real problem was not the money, okay? The real problem was the time. That's what I realized. The time was the real issue. Because you start at 7 a.m., which means you really start at 6 a.m. But if we're going to keep it real, you start at 5 a.m., okay? And now here's the next question. What time do you end? Okay, what time do you end your shift? Let's use that language. What time do you end your shift? Well, you end, let's say, at 7 p.m. But what does that really mean? Okay. Oh, Diane. Whoa. Hey, Diane. Welcome to the live. What an amazing blessing to have you on the live. All right, guys. And for those of you who don't know, Diane is saying from Langdon Park, this is a school that I used to work in. So this is absolutely amazing. This was actually, Langdon Park was the first school that I got a full-time job in. So Diane was one of my work colleagues. So this is absolutely amazing. Diane, a pleasure to have you on the live. How is the family on your side? How's everything on your side? It's a great pleasure to have you on the live. I'm excited right now. This is super exciting, right? Because Diane knows me from when I used to work in schools. All right, and this is the stuff, guys, that makes this stuff so real. These are the reasons why you can't stop doing what God has placed in you to start doing. Because there are people you're gonna meet along the way. There are people you're gonna have encounters with and engagement with. And if I can go there, someone just write, go there in the chat, right? There are people that you are going to connect with and they're going to see your gift more than you see your gift. There are people you're going to connect with and they're going to see your value, sometimes maybe even more than you see your value. And let me tell you what you need to do when you see those people. Let me tell you what you need to do when you connect with those people. You need to add value to them and recognize the value they're adding to you. Because that's the transitions, that's the situations, that's the scenarios and settings which change lives. Diane says, this is confirmation. I see, go there. You see, I want you to understand this, guys, right? You have to understand that your future is not going to come to you. But here's a little thing you should think about. Although your future is not going to come to you, your future is waiting for you. Some of us have futures that are so bright, they will blind you with the light. But let me tell you what we're doing. We're procrastinating, we're hesitating. We're not saying, if it's going to be, it's up to me. And grabbing that future with two hands and saying, I will not let this future go. I will not let this future go. Let's go deeper, so much more. So the challenge for me, as I'm working as a secondary and A-level math teacher, as a teacher trainer, as I'm working in schools, I'm adding value to these young people, I'm saying to myself, hold on a minute, I got a problem right now. What's the problem? The problem is it's not the money. If I get to the top of this ladder, the issue will not be the money. What will be the issue? The issue will be the time. What's the time? Let me show you the time. You start work at 7 a.m., which really means you start work at 5 a.m. Let's just call it 6 a.m. to be nice, right? You end work at 7 p.m., but which really means you end work at like 9 p.m. Okay, now you're gonna say, Samuel, how can I end work at 7 p.m. but I really end work at 9 p.m.? I'm gonna show you something that I learned in one of the schools I worked in, right? I actually learned it in the same school that I worked in with Diane, okay, which was Langdon Park in East London. And let me share this with you, right? When I worked at Langdon Park, there was a member of staff. This gentleman was an assistant head teacher at the time, okay? And I remember having some conversation with him. At this time, I didn't have any responsibility. I was just a maths teacher, right? This was like my first full-time maths teaching job. And I remember speaking to this assistant head. Now, it's good to speak to people further along than you because you learn lessons. You learn, okay, cool. Like in 5 years from now, I could be in this situation or position, right? So I'm having this conversation with this gentleman, right? Amazing teacher, right? And I say to this guy, I say, this is assistant head, okay? I want you to see this. I said to this guy, I said, how long does it take you to get to work? Okay, I want you to see this, okay? Let's go. I love this. Dan says, Samuel, you gave me the opportunity to teach dance during a summer school holiday program. Thank you. You are most welcome, Dan. And Dan, I do not forget, I have not forgotten the project that we did, all right? I have not forgotten the project that we did. Guys, let me tell you what's so powerful about what Diane just said, right? I have people till today, besides Diane, who still thank me for that summer school project. And I'm going to tell you why. We paid very handsomely on that project. But not only did we pay, okay, let me tell you what I did in the summer school project, right? I got governmental funding, right? Just for some of you guys. Guys, if this is this valuable to you, for those of you who are on the live, right? I don't want me and Diane to just be geeking out and you guys to be watching, right? But if this is valuable, someone just write the word value in the chat. So I know this is of value to you guys as we go deeper and dive into this, right? Because all of this is connected. Remember, we're talking about hustle culture. And the interesting thing is, my job, both at Langdon Park and the several other schools I worked in, was hustle culture. I was hustling. I was hustling in those schools. I was hustling. Why? Because that's what everyone was doing. Everyone was hustling. Everyone was trying to make a break, get as much as they could, eat as much of the cake. Everyone was hustling, right? But let me tell you something I did, right? This was in my first year, maybe my second year maximum. My first/second year of teaching. And I'm so blessed that Diane just brought this up because what she's doing is she's forcing me to remember how I was stepping out of hustle culture even when I was hustling, right? So I want you guys to see this. So I'm working in this school full time, Langdon Park, right? In East London, Tower Hamlets to be exact, right? Now, again, there's so much I want to go into, right? Tower Hamlets is one of the most craziest boroughs in the whole of the world, literally, right? But let's just say in the UK for now, right? Samuel, why is Tower Hamlets such a crazy borough? Tower Hamlets is the borough where you have Canary Wharf, 1 Canada Square. The tallest building, well, it used to be the tallest building, now we have the Shard, but one of the tallest buildings, the financial district of the UK is housed in Tower Hamlets. Yet, Tower Hamlets is also home to the highest proportion. Diane, thank you for sharing the live. I saw that. All right, guys. And for those of you who are getting value, you know what to do. Share the live, right? Hit the like, right? Press subscribe, become a part of the tribe. Now, what's crazy about the fact that Tower Hamlets houses the financial district of the UK is the fact that the same Tower Hamlets also houses some of the most poverty-stricken communities in the whole of the UK. I want you to think about that. A borough that houses the financial district for the whole country, for the whole nation, also houses some of the lowest income individuals in the whole country, in the whole nation. That's crazy. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to work inside of that area, okay? So I was working at the time in this school, Langdon Park, and a friend of mine who was working in another school, in another area, completely different area, he told me that he was gonna get funding from the government to run a project in the summer. And I was like, what, is that possible? He's like, yeah, it's possible. This is how you do it. So he told me what to do, right? So this is what I did, okay? And this is why coaching is so important, because my friend was coaching me. He was showing me something that could be done that I didn't know could be done, okay? So straight after he tells me this, I said, okay, cool. I went back to my school on the Monday and I said to, firstly, my head of maths, but then the assistant head teacher in the school. Then I ended up speaking to the senior, to one of the senior deputies in the school. I said to them, listen, I said, the government is giving funding for these kind of projects. I think we should apply for this funding. Now, look, I'm going to be very transparent, right? Just like Joseph in the Bible, I didn't know what they were going to say next. I did not know that they were going to say, oh, if you think you can do it, you go do it. But that's what they did. They said, okay, if you believe that they're running these fundings and you can get the funding, go apply for the funding. Let me tell you what I did. I took my left hand and my right hand and I went to work. In my first year as a secondary and A-level math teacher, I secured funding to run a summer school project from the government. Now, let me tell you what I did. I ran that project how I would run my own school. That's why every single person who participated in that project till today remembers that project. Because we paid people handsomely. We paid people the way the school should have been paying us. I was paying people in my summer school, which I got funded by the government, more to work in the summer school than they were getting paid in the school that I was recruiting them from to work. And I recruited teachers from all over the place. I recruited some teachers from the actual school I was in. I recruited most of the teachers from outside of the school. I recruited people that ran businesses and didn't even teach in schools because I knew this project was going to be a hit out of the park event. And we did that. It was an amazing, amazing summer school. We still have the video footage on definitely on one of my hard drives. And I know the editors, because I speak to the editors still till today. But that was an amazing project. So Diane, thank you for that. Now, why is that so relevant to this life? Let me tell you why. Because I was hustling in the workplace, but even though she's trying to get me, Diane, you got to hit me up in the DMs. You got to see what you can do. All right. I'm doing too much stuff outside of schools right now, but I am open to doing some stuff in schools. But yeah, Diane, hit me up in the DMs. Hit me up in my DMs. And let's talk. Let's see what we can do. All right. But this is the thing, guys. The reason this is so relevant for this live is because I was at work. I was hustling at work. But I realized that there's another path. And I've been trying to do this for years, but it was 2022 when this thing really clicked for me. And it really clicked when one of my coaches said to me, he said, I'd rather be a prepared messenger than even have a prepared message. And that changed my life. Right? Now, let me ask this question, guys. I'm here with you right now. I'm live with you right now. The counter says we've been live nearly an hour, right? Here's a question, right? Have I used any notes? Someone let me know in the chat. Have I used any notes throughout this live? Have I used any notes whatsoever? And the fact Diane jumped on and started sharing what she was sharing and we even went down that whole path, you guys can tell whether I'm using notes or not. Right? Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm telling you why I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing this up because there's a difference between flow and a fountain than there is between hustle and grind. You see, when I jump on live, I'm not trying to jump live and use notes and make sure I go through this slide and that slide. And guys, when I was a teacher, that's what it was. That was the energy. You want to stick to your slide so you can make sure that you get to this part of the curriculum by lesson 7, and by lesson 8, you can give them the end of term test. Guys, I'm not telling you that's wrong. I'm just telling you that's hustle and grind. That's not flow. That's not flow. That's not how you live your life. That's not how you thrive. That's how you end up trying to survive. Guys, let's go. All right, Diane says, Samuel, I don't know how to hit you up in the DMs. I'm old school. All right, guys, anyone in the live can jump into the chat and help Diane understand how to hit me up in the direct messages. Please let her know in the chat. And Diane, if nobody responds, I will basically get one of my team to message you from my account inside of the direct messages, and we will basically have a chat from there. Okay, we'll get it done. All right, let's go. I need to read this. That is God Over Everything 19 decided to follow the host. God Over Everything 19, thank you. I appreciate you for following the host. God Over Everything 19, let me know your name so I know who we are literally having in the live and who's decided to follow and who's with us on this journey, so we can also continue to add value to you guys and help you move further, faster in your future. All right, now, I just looked at the tablet and I realized I was in the middle of something, so I'm going to add that to what we're talking about. And now, just so you guys can make sure you get all of the value, I don't want to shortchange you guys in terms of the things that we're talking about. So I mentioned to you, in the same school I was working in with Diane. Okay, that's Carol. Carol, welcome to the live. Great to have you on. Carol, have you been on our lives before, or is this your first time? If it's your first time, just write first time. If you've been before, just write back again, BA. But I'm slightly thinking, Carol, that I've seen you on one of these lives before. Let me know. I could be wrong, so please let me know. All right, so let's jump back into it. So when Diane jumped on, she reminded me of something. She reminded me of an assistant head teacher I used to work with in the same school where me and Diane worked together, which was Langdon Park. And when I worked in that school, this assistant head, right, and guys, I'm gonna reiterate what I said, which took me off a bit on a tangent. When you work in any environment, it is empowering, all right? first time on your live, thank you ever so much for deciding to follow Carol, and thank you ever so much for letting me know it's your first time, and welcome to the live. I pray you get tons and tons of value that you can utilize and take back into your own life as well. All right, so I was working in Langdon Park. When I'm working in Langdon Park, same school I was working with Diane, there was an assistant head teacher. Now this assistant head teacher, you know, he was doing his thing. And I remember, like, one thing I'll say to everybody, and hopefully we all know this because most of us here are old school anyway, right? Most of us know in order to move further, faster in your life, you got to find people that are ahead of you in an area, and you got to tag along. And how do you tag along? You don't tag along by grabbing their wrist. You don't tag along by grabbing their ankle. You tag along by asking them questions. You tag along by getting their insights. You tag along by getting their hindsight. You tag along by getting their foresight. So ultimately you end up with more oversight, right? So I used to do that. I used to, you know, my dad taught me that. My dad also always said to me, you should let someone coach you, let someone mentor you. My dad used to coach me. My dad used to mentor me. So I just grew up like that. I'd be in environments and I'd find someone who's further along than me, and I'd ask them questions. I'd learn from them, right? So I'm in this school in Langdon Park in Tower Hamlets, and there's this assistant head teacher, and he looks like he's a mover and shaker. He looks like he's making things happen, right? So I said to myself, in that case, let me ask him, like, how he's living, what he's doing, how he's got things set up, how he's got things patterned. So I asked him, I said, how long does it take you to get to work? Like, I wanted to ask him, where do you live? But I thought it was a bit too intrusive. So I said, how long does it take you to get to work? He said to me, 2 hours. Okay, let me tell you something. When this guy said this to me, like, he made me question whether I was in the right profession. Okay, he said to me, I want you to understand this, because some of us, we see the signs, we see the clues, but we don't allow those clues to sing us the blues. Okay, I'm gonna say it again in case you need to pick up your pen. Some of us, we see the signs, we hear the clues, but we don't allow the clues to sing us the blues. Okay, what do you mean, Samuel, by sing us the blues? Tell us what's going on, right? Let me give you an example. This assistant head said to me, I asked him, how long does it take you to get to work? He said to me, it takes him 2 and a bit hours. Let's just call it 2 hours, okay? And I said to him, I said, so where do you live? Like, 2 hours to get to work. He said, I live in Northampton. Northampton, right? Now, I remember this like it was yesterday. This was like I don't want to say a bullet. Maybe a bullet's too strong. But this was like a baseball bat to the chest when he said that. I literally thought to myself, you've been working in schools for over 10 years. You've progressed to become an assistant head teacher. You're in one of the best positions that other teachers want to be in, and you work 2.5 hours away. Like, how did that happen? I started to realize how it happened. Let me tell you how it happened. If someone wants to know how it happened, just write in the comments, how? Okay, let me tell you how, okay? This is how it happens. Because one of the things I spotted about education, one of the things I spotted about schools is let's go. It says we're glitching. Apologies. If we are glitching, I do apologize, guys. I do apologize. We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. Our connection should be tight. Guys, those of you who are tuned in, let me know if the connection is tight, or let me know if we are glitching tonight. Let me know, guys. Let me know. All right? Let's keep it moving anyway, right? Because hopefully there will be the replay for those of you who are on the red platform. The replay should be up as well. So you guys will be able to tune in, comment on the replay as well with any questions that you have. All right? But let's keep it moving anyway as we go deeper and further into the session. All right, let me just make sure everything's here. Yes. All right, cool. I see the lights coming in. The lights coming in. When I see lights coming in, that usually means to me, like, you're good. You're good. Like, keep it moving. Let's go. All right. I don't know. You guys let me know. You guys have to let me know what each thing means. Okay. And Kihomi, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Kihomi, is that how I pronounce it? Kihomi, let me know your name. Thank you for following the host. Okay, let's go. Kihomi says, you good. You good. Kihomi, let me know your name. I'm super old school. I just like addressing people by their actual name. So if you can, let me know. All right, let's go. Diane says it's not tight for her. Okay, so maybe it's just some locations. Maybe it's just some of the locations, but we should be tight, right? Let's get this done. All right, cool. The stream seems a bit choppy though. All right, thank you ever so much, Kiyomi, for letting me know. All right, and Kiyomi, feel free to let me know your name so I can address you properly. All right, so let's jump in. So this assistant head says to me, He's working 2.5 hours away from work. I'm like, yo, where do you live? He says, Northampton. I'm like, Northampton? He's like, yeah, Northampton. So at this time, I am literally, okay, thank you, Kiyomi, appreciate you. So I'm literally saying to myself, welcome to the live. And Kiyomi, let me know if this is your first time. If it's your first time, a great big welcome to you. If you're back again, great to see you back again as well, all right? But your name is too distinctive for you to have been on the live and to have commented and me to have recognized. So welcome to the live for the first time, I'm assuming. All right, let's go. Lucas says, the stream's lagging a bit, brother. Might be the camera is too good. Too good at high quality. All right, the cameras usually are not the problem. What? Okay, for those of you who are interested, let's go. Kiyomi says first time. I appreciate you, sister. Guys, we moved our studio at the beginning of this month, so our studio's in a new location, and we are literally like, this is the 3rd or 4th live. I don't know, Zach, if you're still in the house, Zach, you can let me know how many lives we've had since, because I think you've been on all of them since we moved studio. But yeah, like we literally moved studio, and since moving studio, the connection just ain't been what it used to be. So I don't know what it is. I'm assuming the internet providers are trying to shortchange us, even though we go for the highest package. I don't know what's going on. But we're gonna try and do this. All right. So Diane, how can we get in touch? Diane, how can we get in touch? We can get in touch through the direct message on the platform. And if someone can just share in the chat how Diane can direct message me on the platform, please do that in the chat. And if nobody does that, Diane, I will get a member of my team to message you directly in the direct messages from my account. So either way, we will talk. All right. Let's go. All right, Lucas, let me know if that's your name, if I'm addressing you properly. Lucas says, are you live through a PC? 100%. You could not have this camera through a phone or a tablet. So 100%. And Diane, most welcome. You are most welcome, sis. It's a pleasure to have you on the live. It's a pleasure for you to literally give me the reminder and all of that, right? Lucas, what do you mean by yeah, it is? Just elaborate for me. Do you mean yes, it is possible to have a DSLR camera on your phone? Let me know. All right, cool. Thank you, Kiyomi. Kiyomi's like, Samuel, man, you gotta get back to this. You were dropping gems. You gotta get back to this. All right, cool. Lucas, good. Kiyomi says, sounds interesting. Good. All right, cool. All right. We are using hardwired Ethernet. Okay, we're always using Ethernet. And Kiyomi is literally blowing the emojis all over the screen right now. She's like, yo, let's get it. All right, so let's get it, guys. So we're talking today about hustle culture. We're talking about how hustle culture literally takes people off track. Specifically, we had Diane literally crash the live and tell me, hey, Samuel, like, it's Diane, right? From Langdon Park. We used to work together in the school. I worked in Langdon Park in 2012. It must be 2012, 2013. The only reason I remember that is because 2012 was the year I got married. So, and 2013 was the year my daughter was born. And my daughter was born when I worked in Langdon Park, right? So 2012, 2013, this is 13 years ago, 14 years ago that I worked in the same school with Diane. So I spoke a bit, I gave an example a little bit about the hustle culture, right? Let's go. I love that. I spoke a little bit, Kiyomi, if that's what you love, you're in the right place. And if that's what you love, if you ain't hit follow, you know what to do. If you ain't hit subscribe, become a part of the tribe. If you ain't hit share, show the people out there that you care and they should be getting something that's in here. And yeah. All right. So basically, so Diane allowed us to use some different examples than the examples I was going to use because she just reminded me of how work was. So let's jump into this second example because I think this is super valuable for all of you guys. So I'm working in this school, the same school I was working with Diane. This is back in the day. And when I was working in this school with Diane in 2012, 2013, you know, one of the things my parents taught me all the time was speak to people further ahead of you, get a coach, get a mentor, get someone, ask them questions, etc. So there's this assistant head teacher. At the time, I'm just a maths teacher. I'm just working as a normal maths teacher. And there's this assistant head teacher, and this guy is literally, he's living the dream. He looks like he's living the dream anyway, right? For those of you in the back, let me tell you a secret. He wasn't living the dream, right? I later found out he was not living the dream. I didn't know that at the time, but I found that out later, okay? So I says to him, I say to this teacher, I said, listen, how far away do you live? How long does it take you to get to work? And he said to me, it takes him 2.5 hours, okay? It takes him 2.5 hours to get to work. So I was like, yo, that's a long time to get to work. I don't want to be an assistant head taking 2.5 hours to get to work. I got a family, young family. I was just married at the time I had my oldest daughter. I'm like, listen, I don't want to have to go multiple hours just to get to work. So I said to him, so where do you live? He says he lives in Northampton. So he's commuting from Northampton all the way to East London. I was like, this is crazy. Now, let me start to share with you some of the things I started to realize which really shifted things for my mind as I started to engage with him, right? The first thing I started to realize was this, and this was the game changer for me. Schools do not pay you enough to live where you work. That, guys, I'm just saying it, right? And some of you can't deep or fathom what I just said, but I want you to think about that. Imagine, okay, let me give you 3 examples because it's going to be super simple to really fathom right now. Imagine you're a baker and you work in Greg's or Percy Ingles or one of those places, right? And you work in any location. You say the location, but you don't get paid enough to live in that location. Do you know what that means? That's crazy. That was the wake up call for me. The wake up call was, how can I work somewhere which does not, which means not equals, right? Which does not, mathematically that's not equal, that does not pay me enough to live where I work. That was crazy for me. This guy's an assistant head teacher, which means he's one of the top 10 paid people in the school. If you rank the highest paid person in the school, head teacher, then you're gonna have deputy head teachers, then you're gonna have assistant head teachers. He is in the top 10 ranking of pays in the school, but he lives 2 hours away. That was a lesson to me. That was, yo, you need to get out of here. That was one of the things in my first school, in my first year of teaching, that got me prepared to get out of teaching. Has anyone ever else had a lesson, like a light bulb lesson, where someone just gives you an answer and it just makes you feel like, yo, I need to get out of here. I need to start planning my exit strategy. That was me. That was me. That was the first thing. That thing hit me. Kiyomi says, guys, I want you to think about this. How can you work somewhere that they haven't taken enough time to recognize that they should pay you enough to be able to live near there? We were working in Tower Hamlets, the financial district of the whole of the UK. The place where you have both poverty and wealth smudged next to each other. And let me tell you what I realized. I realized working in the financial district of the whole of the UK, I realized that I was not even making enough pay. That's why I said, you know what, this hustle culture has to stop. Something has to stop about this hustle. Something has to stop about this hustle. Let's see. Carol says his income gave him the incentive to travel that far to work. Yes, maybe we can say that. Or maybe he had to. Maybe he had no choice. Okay? I love that. Diane says, Tower Hamlets is the Docklands and the ghetto all in one. 100%. 100%. For those who know, they know. Okay? Now, here's the thing that's interesting, right? I worked in Tower Hamlets. I grew up in Newham. Newham is literally the borough next to Tower Hamlets. So those of you who know about East London, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know Newham, the difference is up until 2003, Newham had no Docklands. It just had ghetto, right? So I knew that kind of environment very, very well because Newham is right next to Tower Hamlets. Newham doesn't have Canary Wharf. Newham doesn't have any of that stuff. In 2003, Newham started to get Excel Exhibition Centre. Prior to Excel Exhibition Centre, Newham had the Docklands in terms of the train stations, right? But guys, we're talking about locations which are rough, especially for inner city people. These are rough locations. Like many of the Easts, the Souths, the West, the North London pockets. These places are rough. And when you go out of your way to develop yourself, to educate yourself, to study 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, 4. And I know some of you are thinking, Samuel, 4? Yes, I studied 4 degrees. And I'm telling you something, I say it all the time, none of my degrees go out there pick up 50,000 and say, hey, Samuel, you don't have to work this year. None of them. None of them. So what do I have to do? I have to get out of hustle and grind and get into flow and fountains. I have to get out of hustle and grind and get into flow and fountains. Now, let's take the second aspect, and then we're going to wrap and move out into something else, right? So this assistant head says to me, listen, he works 2 hours away. He works in Northampton. He starts to show me that, listen, like he didn't say this, but this was the lesson I took. He doesn't get paid enough where he works to live where he works. I don't want that to be my story, okay? Is there anyone in the house today who's saying, you know what, Samuel, I'm with you. I need to change my story. Just put in the chat, CMS, change my story. CMS, change my story. CMS, change my story. Okay? Because this is one of the things I realized. Okay? I love this. Dan says, introduce me to flow and fountains. And listen, Dan, here's the reality. Flow and fountains is just like the summer school project that I ran back in 2013. It's exactly the same. It's an opportunity comes to you. You grab it with both hands and you find out that it pays in buckets and spades. That's all it is. That's all I did. When I started investing in property, I didn't invest in property because I had shed loads of money. I didn't invest in property because I was born with a silver spoon. No, I started investing in property because I realized that I needed to get into flow and fountains, okay? Now, if there's anyone who wants to know more about flows and fountains, just write FNF. F for flow, N for and F for fountains, and we'll go into it, right? So the first thing I realized, speaking to this assistant head, is that he works in a place that doesn't pay for him to be able to live in the same space. The second thing I realized, which really shifted things for me about this specific assistant head, is that his day starts 2 to 3 hours before mine. Now I want you to think about this, right? Going back to some of the stuff we shared earlier, right? Just think about this. If you have a job that pays you £200,000 a year, after tax, let's be nice, and let's say tax is not even that bad. Let's say it's only 50,000, which mathematically is impossible in the UK, right? But let's just say it's gonna work that way. So you're walking away with 150,000, but here's the problem. You start work at 6 a.m. really, because you got to get to work by 7 a.m. You finish work by 7 p.m. really, but really you ain't finishing until 9 p.m. because it takes you an hour, hour and a half to get home. For most of us, let me tell you what happens. It takes you less than an hour to get home, but it takes you more than an hour to de-zone. Oh, someone caught that. Many of us work in jobs or have worked in jobs where it takes you 20 minutes to get home, but it takes you an hour and 20 minutes to de-zone, to get out of the office, to get out of the desk, to get out of the classroom, to get out of the communications, to stop thinking about Ronnie and Johnny and Bonnie and Honey, and start thinking about your future and your value and where you desire to go so you can start to, someone say, flow. You see, and let me tell you the biggest scam. The biggest scam is most of us say to us, oh, when I retire, I'll acquire the things that will make my life feel like fire. I'm gonna tell you something. It ain't gonna happen. Now I know that's deep. I know that's a bit direct, but guys, can I be that real with you? It ain't gonna happen unless something changes. Why, Samuel? How can you be so confident? I can tell you how I can be so confident that it's not gonna happen until something changes. I can tell you how I can be so confident that nothing's gonna happen until something changes, because seeds can only produce trees after their own kind. So if you are planting a hustle seed, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, that I have to be the person to break it to you, but you're only ever going to be able to create a hustle tree. The only way this shifts is if you change. If you say to yourself, I'm not going to be a planter of hustle seeds anymore. I'm going to be someone who stops planting hustle seeds. I'm going to be someone who stops planting hustle seeds because I'm fed up of getting hustle trees. If you are making that commitment today, just write in the chat, I am, and we're going to jump into what some flows and fountains might look like. Now, look, I know some of you are literally hearing this and you're thinking, Samuel, you know what? I don't know why you're doing this to me tonight. You're literally making me feel like I got to change my life. I'm going to tell you a few things, right? I'm going to tell you a few things to help you move further faster in your future. no one's coming to save you. All right, I'm going to say that again in case you need to go and pick up your pen. And when you pick up your pen, you can pick up your notepad, your iPad, your tablet, your stylus, your pen, paper, and everything you need in order to succeed, just to write that down. But here's the sentence you should write down right now. And I'm going to tell you, this is the sentence that changed my life. It's no one is coming to save you. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to save you. Right? You see, let me just say this, right? You see where I live, right? In my bedroom. When I wake up in the morning, outside of my window, there's this massive field. Massive field. I get to see this field every single morning. But one of the things that happens when you live like out in the sticks, right? Not in Tower Hamlets, not in Docklands and ghettos anymore, right? When you hear a sound in your house, you know no one's coming to save you. You know that if you ain't got it going on, something might just have to go on. Why? Because no one's coming to save you. Guys, I want you to understand what I'm talking about. You have to grow up and put on, if you're a male, your big boy pants. And if you're a female, your big girl boots. Because no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to rescue you. You see, when I first got into property, the first thing I did was help people who are going through distressed experiences. They've just gone through a divorce, or they've got financial issues, or they just had a terrible breakup, or they're going through some kind of inheritance. They've inherited a property. They don't know what to do with the property. They need to get rid of the property. And I'd meet these families. And in some cases, let me tell you the truth, in some cases, these people would just think that their whole situation is going to get better with nothing happening. And it used to bemuse me. It used to confuse me, because I used to realize, hold on a minute, even the children in the schools I used to work in understand, if I don't do the work, oh Lord, someone say it, nothing's going to work. Even the children in the schools that I worked in understood, if I don't do the work, nothing is going to work. So how comes adults in our current day and age have not decided to turn the page and realize they need to rearrange the furniture in their head? And realize that if it's going to be, it has to be up to me. You have to take that step, because no one's going to take it for you. If someone's feeling what I'm talking about, if someone's understanding what I'm talking about, if someone's saying to themselves, listen, nothing's going to work unless I work, just write me in the chat, just write me in the chat, just write me in the chat, just write me in the chat. And as a matter of fact, let's really talk quickly about flows and fountains. Diane says nothing is going to work unless you work. Let's go. All right, so let's jump into this. First question, Samuel, you've defined hustle for us. Samuel, you showed us what hustle is. Samuel, you gave us multiple examples of how we can make sure that we can detect when we are in hustle mode, okay? Now, I said this earlier, I'm going to say this again. Hustle is very deceptive because of its characteristics, okay? One of the characteristics of hustle is that it literally shows up as doing something different. So when you think you're doing something different, you're going against the grain, guess what you're going to feel like? You're going to feel like, okay, cool. I want my situation to change. I'm going against the grain, so this must work, okay? Let me tell you a little secret, okay? The people that have the things you desire to have are not going against the grain, okay? Think about a river, okay? I want you to think about a river, or think about a sea, or think about a lake, okay? Do you think that you are going to get the best results in a river by going with or against the tide? Someone write in the chat, let me know. Okay? How do you think you get the best results in a river? Okay? How do you get the best results in a river? By going with the tide or against the tide? Someone tell me, right? Because what happens is, the people who have the results you desire to have in your life, they just found a way to go with the tide of currency. Oh, you heard that word, right? Yes, the tide of currency. Now, why is this so important? Because the word currency comes from the same root word as the word current. And the current is the flow. Oh, someone's catching this right now. The flow of what, Samuel? It doesn't matter. You tell me. As someone who's been investing in property for multiple years, guess what? I work with a lot of electricians. And what is the flow of electricity called? It's called current. You might not be in electric work. You might be someone who's dealing with water. And what is the flow of water called? It's called the current. When you make a decision that you're going to go with the flow of the current, you put yourself in the best situation to win against the current, against the tide. This is what's happening, guys. Like, I don't know if anyone's having like a little epiphany, a light bulb moment right now, who's literally thinking like, oh, Samuel, you just literally broke something in me that was a barrier stopping me from getting what I was supposed to get. Guys, this is what I'm here for. Because I want you to understand how this works. If you spend years, decades, right, working in an industry, and you always feel as though you're going against the tide, let me tell you something. You're just keeping yourself on a ride. You are exerting more energy than necessary. Why? Because you're going against the tide. Everybody who's succeeding is going one way, you're going the other way. And you're saying, oh, I'm fighting it. Listen, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter how much you're fighting it. You can't win that battle. The current is created to take everything with it. So what would happen if you were going with the flow instead of against the flow? Okay? What would happen if you're going with the flow instead of against the flow? This is a great question. Diana asked a great question. Samuel, sorry, I need to say, what about salmon, right? And most people know salmon are one of the few fish that can flow against the tide. But here's the thing. They're one of the few fish. They're the exception. They're not the rule. And this is the problem with many of us. We try to create our lives based on exceptions and not the rule. Samuel, what do you mean? Oh, I'm going to break this down right now. This is going to help someone. There's a book. If you're someone like me, you like reading, I recommend you get this book, right? This is a book I read in 2008, maybe 2008, okay? My copy, because we're still rearranging all the books here, so I don't know if my copy is going to be here. My copy is definitely somewhere in the studio, but I don't think it's here. It's probably there because it's yellow. All right, guys. Guys, is it going to be helpful if I show you the book or you just want me to tell you about the book? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. I saw it recently, so I know it's here. Or maybe I put it on one of my other shelves. All right, so there's a book I read back in the day which helped me realize exactly what I'm talking about. So Diane mentioned, what about those things or people or fish that are able to go against the tide? And what I've just said is they are the exception, they are not the rule. Now, there's nothing wrong with trying to be the exception. Okay, I just found a book right now, okay? Let me go grab this book. I love that dancer. Just tell me. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my roaming camera on. You guys are going to get to see the studio in the rawest form right now. If you guys want it raw, just write the word raw in the chat. You are literally going to get to see the studio in the rawest form right now because I'm going to get my book. It's not far, but it's just, it makes sense so you guys don't feel left out. There we go. This is my moving camera, so this one's gonna come with me whilst I get the book for you guys. It's not far, like I said, it's just over here. So here's the book, right? I've got 2 copies of the book. Both copies are right here. Okay, the book is called The Millionaire Next Door. The Millionaire Next Door. Okay, so someone write the name of the book in the chat. Okay, The Millionaire Next Door. Okay, now, when I read this book back in 2008, 2009, this book really changed my life, okay? It changed my life for a number of reasons. Now, look, see, the copy I just got is my wife's copy. This is how powerful this is, right? Because it says in it, January 2011, okay? So that's when she got a copy, in 2011. Now, thank you, Camellia, all right? Camellia, let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Now, let me tell you why this book is so powerful for everybody, okay? This is going to help you. This book teaches several concepts, but there's one concept in this book which is profound. Camellia says, yes, you're pronouncing it correctly. Let's go, right? Let me share with you the profoundest principle that I took from this book. The book explains, the book's called The Millionaire Next Door. What do you think that book's talking about, right? But don't just assume, go read it. Go buy it and read it. It's an old book, right? Written by 2 PhDs, Stanley and Danko, right? But the book teaches that most millionaires do not look how you think. This was the big takeaway I had from this book. The book is called The Millionaire Next Door. And the book basically explains the concept that most millionaires and multi-millionaires look just like your next door neighbors. Most millionaires and multi-millionaires have made their wealth by doing normal things, not abnormal things. By going with the flow, not going against the flow. And what they explain, let me tell you this, because this is where what Diana asked is super, super relevant. And what they explain in the book is that the reason so many people struggle to generate wealth financially is because most people have been watching the TV, the electronic income reducer, that's what the television's called. They've been watching the programming system because television programs are there to program you. And because they've been watching the television programs, which program you to think a millionaire looks only like Ronaldo or Lionel Messi, what happens is we get programmed into thinking a millionaire looks like this, when a millionaire actually looks like this. So guess what happens? We start chasing this, and as a result, we get further and further away from this. So it's a great question you asked. It's a powerful question you asked, Diane. What about salmon that can flow in the direction of the current? They are the exception. They are not the rule. Most fish, if you go and study, most fish, what do? They swim in the direction of the tide. They swim with the current. Why? Because they understand that's how you win. That's how you win. Surfers, what do surfers do? Surfers are gonna flow with the tide until they catch a wave, and then they go against the tide for the wave. But guess what? The most riskiest part of what you're doing when you're surfing is when you're going against the tide. So guys, hopefully you understand this, right? Hopefully you understand this. So let's go back into what we were sharing. One of the things I said to you guys is that we see this powerful word when we talk about the current. Currency, income, revenue, money comes from the same root word as current. Current is flow. This is why they call it cash flow. This is why I help people create consistent and colossal cash flow. Why? Because I'm teaching people how to get into the flow of the current. The current's already there. The currency is already there. But the question is, are you there? Are you flowing in the right direction? Or are you just going in any direction? Any direction that someone told you one day, oh, that's the direction you need to get into. Instead of you saying to yourself, hold on a minute, is that person actually correct? Hold on a minute, does that person actually have my respect in mind? Or do they actually have a mentality of neglect in mind? You see, you have to ask yourself sometimes, rise of Taritaria, hopefully I'm saying that correct. Thank you for following the host. Sometimes you got to ask yourself, like, am I on the right path or am I just on a path? Because there are so many of us who have picked a path that someone else has given to us rather than us saying, I need to choose a path that's going to actually last. So guys, I want to encourage you, for those of you who are tuned into this live, for those of you who may watch this on a replay, and again, for those of you who want to go back through this, you want to start from the beginning and be like, you know what, Sammy, I want to really deep dive into some of the things you said today. You can go and make sure you're subscribed on the red platform and go watch the live, right? But here's what I want to say to you. Give up hustle culture. Give up on the hustle and grind and begin your journey where you can finally start to find the flow and the fountains. the flow, and the fountains. Rise of Tamateria. Rise of Tamateria, let me know what your name is so I can address you appropriately. And if I'm saying it, then let me know as well. Rise of Tamateria says, if you were any of my teachers in school, then I feel you would have pushed us in the right direction. That's exactly what we were doing. That's exactly what I was doing. But guess what? I had to jump out. Okay, Kev. Awesome, Kev. Welcome to the live, Kev. Great to have you inside of the live, right? But that's what we was doing. That's exactly what we was doing, Kev. But guess what I realized? I realized the school has its own curriculum. The school has its own curriculum. Guys, let me ask this question. Oh, someone needs to hear this today. Let's go. Here's my simple question for you. Have you created your own curriculum? Or have you connected with someone who you genuinely trust their curriculum for you? Let me know. Because you know what I realized? I realized about my life. I realized that I'd spent too many years living with the curriculum that someone else had created for me. And then the question came to me like, Samuel, when are you going to create your own curriculum? And that's what I started doing. I started creating my own curriculum. Guys, this is why I read books. When you see the books here, the books ain't here as a gimmick. The books are here because this is why I read. I literally read to create my own curriculum. I join coaching programs to create my own curriculum. I get into rooms with millionaires and multi-millionaires to create my own curriculum. I don't do that because it's fun. I do it because I'm creating my own curriculum. When you go to school, let me tell you what you study. You study the GCSEs. Oh, is someone ready for this? If someone's ready for a bomb, just write in the chat the word bomb. Even throw the emoji, the bomb emoji in the chat. I'll give you something for free right now. I'll give you this for free right now. Okay? Some of you aren't aware of this, okay? Some of you are not aware of this. So I'm going to share this with you to help you, okay? Some of you aren't even ready for this, let alone aware of this. Kev shows the bomb, right? Kev put the bomb in. Let me give you the bomb. In school, Diane gives the bomb. Let me give you the bomb. In school, let me tell you what you study in school. In school, you study what they call the GCSEs, okay? Does anyone know what that stands for? If you don't, I'll tell you, right? G stands for general. C is certificate. Of. S stands for secondary. Let's put the of there so you guys don't get lost. Of secondary education. Now, let me tell you what's funny about this, okay? Let's do a little maths process right here. Simple maths, right? Simple maths, right? If you're in secondary school, what doesn't matter about everything we just read? Well, secondary education doesn't matter. Why? Because we're in secondary school, right? Certificate doesn't matter because it's a piece of paper. So what matters? What are they telling you? I'm telling you what they're telling you. You go to school to study to be a generalist. That's what matters. The GCSEs, the General Certificate of Secondary Education, is educating you to be a generalist. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. Most of us know this, not all of us know this, but most of us know this. The most a person is paid is based on specialism. Samuel, what does that mean? Well, there's a bomb. There's the bomb. Boom. What that means is you went to school to be an expert at being general, but you get paid in the world for being an expert at something at which you're special. Do you understand how this does not work? Do you understand how going to school sets you up for mediocrity? But what you're looking for in life is the opposite of mediocrity. You want to be exponential in your results, but you are incremental in your education. And like I said at the start of this live, a seed can only produce after and only its own kind. So if you are someone who's saying to yourself, hold on a minute, I want to be exceptional, then what kind of seeds do you think you need to plant? Someone tell me in the chat. If you want to have exceptional outcomes, here's my question. What kind of seeds do you need to plant? Because the problem is we live in a world where people think they're going to have exceptional outcomes by planting conventional seeds. And as I often say to my coaching clients, if you live life casually, you'll become a casualty. You can't plant occasional seeds and think you're going to get exceptional needs. Doesn't make sense. What's going to happen is if you plant occasional seeds, you're going to end up with exponential needs. You're going to be saying, why do I not have what I need? You're going to be saying, why am I always searching for something new? I'm going to tell you why you're always searching for something new, because you've never made an exponential commitment. You've never said, you know what, I understand the basic science that is in this world that a seed could only produce after its own kind. So if I want to produce major outcomes, I need to start planting major seeds. And major seeds aren't just about the money that you put down. Major seeds is about the time you invest. Major seeds is about the attention you pay. If you pay all your big attention to small reels that every 60 seconds, they're gone, guess what's going to happen? Your big attention, after a while, is going to be gone too. But if you take your big attention and invest it in a big invention, guess what's going to happen? That big invention is going to bring you back a whole bunch more of attention. Ladies and gentlemen, I pray that you guys have got value from this live. If you got value, throw the word value in the chat. Value in the chat if you've got value from this live. What we're going to do is we're going to take a couple questions. Let's do it. Wow. I just saw the time. We'll take a couple questions. We'll take 2 questions within the time allotted. We will take 2 questions within the time allotted. If you have a question, just put the letter Q in the chat and write your question, or just put the letter Q in the chat if you want to come up, and we will bring you up on the live and take your question. Let's go. If you have a question, let's go. All right? Because we're here to help you guys. All right? We are here to help you guys. Let's go. All right? Camellia says value. I love this. Camellia says value. Kev says value. Let's go. Diane says value. I say. Let's go. All right. Guys, let me know if you have questions. If you do, we're going to put the timer up real quick, just in case, because I don't want to be here for too long. All right. If you guys have, let's do the 1 minute timer. If you have questions, throw the letter Q in the chat. Timer's up for 1 minute to give you guys the opportunity to throw your questions in. If you have questions, throw the letter Q in the chat. You don't have to write your whole question. You can just write the letter Q. And if you're willing to come up, we can bring you up and you can ask your question live. If you don't have any questions, you can just write NQ in the chat. NQ, N for no, Q for questions. And then we know you have no questions for this session. And then we'll see you on the next live. For those of you who haven't hit follow, you know what to do. Hit that follow. For those of you who haven't subscribed, you know what to do. Press subscribe so you can be a part of the tribe. For those of you who haven't hit share, you need to press share so you can show the people out there that you really care and they can get some of what's up in here. Let me know. If you guys want to go deeper in terms of this stuff, I run a 5-day cash flow creation week where you can literally learn the science, you can learn the strategies, you can learn the skills. Also on day 4, the systems, and on day 5, cash flow creation success. We teach all of these things in our 5-day cash flow creation week where we show you how to get into the flow so your dough can start to grow. Let's go. All right, so the time is up. That was the 1 minute, and I think we've got one question. Is it one question? Let's see. It's a comment. Kev says, thank you for your time, Samuel. Very, very educational. I'm going back to sleep, but I'll be back again. Let's go. I love that, Kev. Thank you ever so much. That is an absolutely amazing outro for today's session. So with that being said, I think Kev has said it all. Guys, it has been a pleasure to add value to you. As I often say, please remember that it's small keys like these that open up big doors. And guys, stay blessed. Don't be pressed. Instead, use the principles so your life can be something that becomes impressed. Something I can win signing out. Good day. God bless. Let's go. And I'll see you on another one. Peace.